So the iPhone 14s ended up officially coming out, and we got a really good glimpse of what pretty much Apple's going to be doing in the future. They're going to be removing the notches, focusing on the dynamic island little portion of the display. But there were some things that Apple actually ended up doing which kind of confused me. And there are a few different features that our older iPhones have, even like an iPhone 13, that our iPhone 14s, none of them actually have for the most part, which is actually pretty insane. Now, the first thing being, and some of you may already know this, is actually with the SIM card tray. So right there on the side of our iPhone 13, and pretty much every single iPhone before this had some sort of SIM card tray. And this basically allows us to quickly go ahead and grab a SIM card or, a pre-existing SIM card from our previous phone and drop it into this phone and pretty much move on with our life. And this was something that was really cool. I love this type of display, not this type of display, I love this type of thing that we could just go ahead and take it out. And this gave us the ability of, without having to contact our carrier or have to mess with anything before, we can just go ahead and put in a SIM card that we had before and drop it in our phone and move on from there. But now we actually have to utilize our phone via eSIM. So the 14s no longer have that type of SIM card tray unless you're outside the US. If you're outside the US, then obviously you will have that capability. But that is something that doesn't really strike me the right way. I'm not too big of a fan of that either. So that is pretty much the first thing. Now the next thing being Force Touch. This is something that we've talked about so many times for so many years, but our iPhone 14s do not have Force Touch, which, if you don't know, is the ability of pretty much pretty much 3D touching to the display. Basically, you can press on the display a little bit more, and that will actually end up toggling some different things. This has actually been discontinued, I think, since the iPhone XS. So if you have an iPhone 10, if you have an iPhone 6S, if you have an iPhone, pretty much any iPhone before the iPhone 11 besides the 10R had that Force Touch technology, which I think was really cool, and I was a fan of that as well. Now the last thing, and this is kind of a reach, and we've talked about it for so many years now, but the headphone jack that we had previously, it's still not available on any iPhone. I think this is expected. I just wanted to throw it in here because I missed the iPhone 6S. This was probably one of my favorite iPhones. It's now been discontinued with iOS software, which is very sad, but this was an iPhone that was the last one that had a headphone jack inside of it, which is still very strange because Apple still makes MacBooks with headphone jacks and iPads with headphone jacks, but it's weird they took it off on our iPhones for no reason at all. So that doesn't really make too much sense to me. But those were some of the first ones that came out, that kind of stood out to me. On top of that, the only other thing I can think of that is a feature is IPS panels. Pretty much since the iPhone 12s, all the iPhones that Apple, sold generation by generation, they don't have IPS panels anymore. But if you really want to get technical, the iPhone 14s, none of them have IPS panels either, which I think is a really, really good thing. So that's maybe another thing I can throw in here as well. So those are some features that our older iPhones had that pretty much the iPhone 14s don't have for the most part. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that helps me so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video.